Obi, medawase, nyamiando mehoye.
Bibia boko.
Nyamiando bibia
boko. Fantastic.
Come no wom kakra. Come no wom kakra.
Yeah. Easy. And I believe that one of the focus areas for the new force, right? Say, aduani bebu ewo yemen.
Sanity. Sanity.
In more 12-point agenda, no. A finding expression,
definitely. Oko pillar 4.
Pillar 4.
You can be said reserves.
Okay.
Enumuno ya chichemu your gold reserves, your oil and gas reserves.
Okay.
Your food reserves, your general mineral reserves.
Okay.
And your in quotes tax reserves.
Tax reserves.
Yes. Into
that's the pillar 4.
Yes. Aduane adea yadwene ho ye pa se okom Ghana nye oman se
ekom with food reserves no specifically then amobeye
into with the food reserves no what we intend to do ne say ye pese itimi store aduane a be lasting for the next 100 years
aduane for 100 years.
Yes,
that's what I say.
Debbie said, "Aduane no utimi de enuma bi ekeka ho, and depending on where you store it, and so ni nyina be che say ebetimi agu ho acha na say emu ho nche." And in the quest of doing this, no, you have to invest in mechanized farming and agriculture. You have to build canals, any water reservoirs are ebetumi aboa for irrigation, and no na. Your leadership, any politicians are a better tribunal. So my journey now unkosu say a boapaya or when to me anye na edio may ababedru baby away.
Dynamic share pillar 4, as you said, reserves. Even an ant stores food. And you see, we are a nation of 33 million people. What have we prepared for our future? And under food security for 100 years, established the largest seedlings bank in West Africa. Also, we have 13 million hectares of arable land for planting. Wow. And seedlings bank, meaning say a bino ever establishes our seedlings, not one may create 4 seedlings or mobile.
Absolutely. And no kwa SSC Abino investing in research.
Okay.
Okay. We have to go into genetic engineering. I think so. As I said, you to me refining oil products. I to me the petrochemicals. Na no amount fertilizer. Enti sa nyoma bebre ekekambom ansa na wetimi abedru sa food reserves na ye kano. So it's a multi-level approach to governance and economic freedom.
Yeah, me share the 12 pillars, and Nyoma 12 pillars ye ase, and the kind of things you want to do. Some of them not your usual things. Political parties in your power or more eye. I mean, being an economist, you know, say to implement some of these projects, we have resources. It can be capital, it can be labor, it can be everything. From the kind of economy we have,
Obi, wait there. I say, oh yeah, assume if you mama kasi so comedy. But on the more serious note, Obi, the bia na meka Ghana for say from 1970 edebepem eneya metiwanimu sika nkwa ayire free omanyimu a yentumi account for a kwan bi so your friend no capital flight no
yes
ebro $50 billion $50 billion ode eno to nchen a emu nkwa yekra edeba omanyimu ene fla esam okaboma ekọ $1 billion afibia eno nkoda nchen ye oman you produce oil and so ye net importer of oil products. Enti afibia ye boka more than $1 billion ekra gas oil at the Baumaimu. E can 2 million metric tons. Enti sa nyoma ya mambobo bosui. Se o reverse no now to make katino into half umpa. Owo be say $20 billion to begin with. Na sa $20 billion no edo so chain budgeter you could read your parliament. We will increase the tax. You are just plugging systemic leakages and you are reversing unnecessary importation. It is Sikanka Oberpone now they are common Brunino. Afieti Equiafo Botum Bosnia and Kabako Kobo every IMF Yakoha 17 times are still Ghana any year. Afi unko bossa Bosnia Nibim. But
Hubert Senyamia Domina. O boss Nana Kwame we need the next election by a president. In him say this government will present their last budget in November. That budget would run at least into 2025 for the first quarter of 2025. The new administration be present to our first budget around April, May. Muho baby. At that time, Neomana washe Ghana for boning they would expect to see something some more. Yes. I'm not too sure that 20 billion will be available to you by April in 2025.
Well, definitely not in 2025. Now we are very much aware say Nyameya Dom na Ghana for so etie asempa. We are going to start with just about $11 billion according to budgeter Mpenifo Ediababe Tudjano.
Yes.
Na enyoma mebubo so a make us say o plug systemic leakages a ubenya no sa nyoma no enfollow within the budget no so no enti if you're going to spend $50 million mema example. If you're going to spend $50 million to establish a distributed ledger infrastructure or technology for all government procurements, now they blockade $1 billion of losses into corruption corruption. No usika odebabe yejuma. Apart from 11 billion na nke wo budget ni no. So no na according to Auditor General's report no enye 1 billion you lose in corruption. It came 4 billion. So you are spending, you are purchasing and making investments every more returns are quadruples. If you spend 50 million to create our infrastructure, now we'll save $1 billion, $2 billion, $4 billion. I think it's worth it. And those are some of the things the first things that you plug leakages, Now afi you start here fresh.
A free more with some sika. I am interested in Pillar 1. But even before say me busao about Pillar 1, you are a young man. I mean, say no mind in the air canon. And so share the young men of this country and women. I mean, by the time we be free university, some of them join TESCON, TAIN on university campuses. Into Onya free school are they transition into mainstream politics, joining either MPP and NDC. Why the new force? At then of all the attractions, I mean, the NPP, the NDC attraction, you decided to join the new force. I didn't hear.
Obi, make me that say, no question here will be say. Now, first of all, no, everyone I'm working in Western, na me can't TESCON ho.
Okay.
Na, you call TESCON meeting na. Oberhe na okoye solukune, jamashie ne, yi, sabrero na, Deputy Minister, Finance.
Okay.
No taba hopa, oneshamia uku, no ne adie.
Okay.
Inti metana say dream one and me say is this really where I want to be? Inti after I began to search for baby me sha me de me ho kwa a bit to me abwa of mine because I am altruistic in nature and you me nko me ho na me dwene. Inti ye duadua mu a and your free be synchronicity. The old no obi nso odwene the same thing. Into the universe in its own intelligence, once a nede, mummy no maba beshia. And me obi so I am attracted to people with high intentions and are committed to skillful execution. And I think that is the best quality of Nana Kwame Bediako. O share adan we see o Ghana now share the perfection no. Utimu so you be a ade fair ne fe. And he stands for excellence. Enti me hu say ye nya obi sa ebedi oman so a ebebo Ghana ye pa. Yeah.
Going close to because for him to make you the lead economist, no, meaning say if he decides to build a youthful cabinet, for example, you would be considered for a very high cabinet position. I would want to believe say and all of that. Do you think that there is something about him a Ghana for Intina Ebia? I don't know the level of acceptability of him amongst the Ghanaian people. But I see who sad Ghana for would readily accept him. Bibi one who yana.
I think say Ghana for I accept it. The message echo.
Okay.
On the other side of the question, so no. Correct. Nana Kwame Bediako, my friend is say Ghana for nyina penny. Ewo qualities bia dodo na no enya nhunu ye esan say ni social media odi kan ba out no say de osi appear to Ghanaians na ya de fofora na ye nhunu bi saada enti when people begin to act in a way and fall within a frame of reference ya na to de bia unya doubt kakra. But Ubena say he's the most compassionate human being you can ever find. Or any pebi or juni nipa hopa na okona juma mu a obia be dia dance. Onimobia problem or jumanim. And he is willing to go all the way through with you. Na me no nya me nwanwa because nipa bia oba na tete no or pick it, qualities. And to said you see Donny Mame and the idea. All these are signs that actually say, Papa, we're doing nipa.
Yeah. I get you, and I believe, sir, nipa ho drain on inform the kind of policies that were rolling out in the 12 pillars. So number one, 16 regional industrial revolution, 15 regions dormant. One region choked. I would want to believe say a Greater Accra region, and I choked. Into the whole thing around industrial revolution. Is it the year with the NPP, one district, one factory, now, and as something fundamentally different?
Well, it is fundamentally different.
Okay,
and superficially similar. The idea of one district, one factory, good.
Okay.
But the Biana Mekase, ideas alone are not enough. You need refined thoughts. So refined thoughts, and any stage, ayana yempeni for no, enyunim kudru. Omudru idea stage na no mapim. Because idea stage no kwanu to me score on political points. But any political points no na yedi boomine. It was so move called refined thoughts nim. Now refined thoughts no ebine say ko establish a factory and I say industry baby as I say the demographics of the area because adiana ode ko ho no enipa to ho ebia the age bracket near 45 to 65 wa na edi ahoden na omode kwa akoye adwuma ewo ho na sa mistake we no enye aban wo so nko na aye from the beginning of independence I had be seen no yempani fo no bebre aye mistakes no just to score political points enti e bani trima no or the factory no akwesi baby se be ya nipa be boni ye so no enti eni 4 years eni 3 years na ade no gu because business no yet sustainable. But when you have a businessman who is successful for the last 25 years he understands deeply how these things work. It will need that was just the other relocation, sir. This is the kind of consciousness now can say 15 regions dormant, one region choked. No correct. So we share in capital Accra, nipa egum edosun ye pa. But Greater Accra size no, what the compare Ghana be 1.4% pe.
of the whole Ghana.
Of the whole Ghana. But there's a 60 to 70% of internal migration in United towards Greater Accra. Percentage say so be money bag so na nya broche no kwa
or back
yenti me enyo minus that. And you need to think of how to fiscally decentralize the country. Say ujiri sika manako all the regions.
Yes.
Na regions so Western region they have so many resources, a lot of minerals and can be to me I exploit it. Na benefit your man so yama brofo and I take control now omode minerals in Yunayako.
And the idea is to build some kind of growth poles and
absolutely. And you wanna get the true potential of all the regions. You want to maximize the potential of all the regions.
When I'm going to answer from more research, no, we determine every region's wealth.
Yes.
In the Volta region, wealth, $192 billion.
Yes.
Hey, but that's a lot of money.
There be it's way conservative figures.
Really?
Aye.
Ashanti region 240 billion, and when a value of the
mineral
natural
resource
are more.
Yes.
Western region 412.9 billion, Upper East region 53.5 billion, and we know the research, the figures were based on what? A day?
Well, from different sources.
Okay.
There are a lot of research on Ghana. Your resources are
yes.
Now Obi Unimbibi Abrofono more information mayumu
it's true.
It is all pay a new ma Ghana pa information
it's true. May have a master's now may pay data on Ghana, you use CIA fact file.
Absolutely.
And you get a lot of information there.
Absolutely. And thank you for mentioning CIA. You know, some of the information is free. CIA, it means free China for Mabaye Juma or more information echo. It means free professors or more or my extensive research for many years, and nobody has been paying attention to
the research. Yeah. No. I love the bit on the wealth creation. So maybe back to the Industrial Revolution, meaning say for regions now and you state here say our research on attributable reserve shows gold plus iron ore plus oil plus gas plus bauxite plus lithium plus diamond, and the potential of our agro processing on our arable land something around $2.5 trillion.
Yes.
Wow. And that's really massive, and you want to make sure say you exploit Weno to benefit the Ghanaian people.
Absolutely.
In all the regions. In 10 years, we would have an economic output of $4.7 trillion.
Yes, and what that means, and they say, so 2.5 trillion na
yeah.
Senka yusu na in 10 years time no economic output anka ubenya you do the proportions no pro rata.
Yeah. We produce 200,000 barrels of oil per day. We sell these and then import refined product. Said the must say we refine the oil, petrochemicals, so that we do not import product. But easier said than done, because say as a country we've not been deliberate in making sure that we would invest in prospecting for some of these minerals, and we allow foreign companies to come with a capital almost strike oil now. They would go into an agreement with you, and that agreement you don't expect say will be more than them. How would you want to change that structure? No?
You rightly said it. Say we have not been deliberate to invest in sa exploration. Na offer or mind be to say China. China produce gold. They are doing about 370 tons a year. We China free maybe about Australia 310, and then Russia the same amount. Na Okwa China, omu major mining companies, and yet obi free or mine be so no abemuna debi. China for no sika no mudi to at the end no ankasa keep as reserves. No yenya sa consciousness no. Because bronini di sika ne ba no se me betu na mema 10% Penny dream say 10% of a billion near $100 million is a but on when you say gold no ankasa na bruni de kono a hedge against inflation. Na se uni sa reserve no o currency no e besi ni ti ase. But the moment adwene no ebekọ in reverse no afi utumi enya sa consciousness no na in finance you be a friend say hypothecation. Hypothecation nature say sika bia abound sem no earmark say sa sika adwumadie we pote ena me di bedie enti anke betumi anya adwene say sika bia ebeba no ye de kwa akodi sa adwuma we isa say yebema ebia mining company XYZ ababeye sa di we no yan kasa yebe build up your equity. We can go into partnerships with foreign companies, but the equity no e na question no. So the equity near more than 50 to 60% are fair na near say you control your reserves. It's na kwa me be dia ko message ni na no. It borders around ownership and control
of your resources
to
benefit the Ghanaian
people. Ownership and control. So when to me and control now I'm onia, you can have all the resources in the world, but unye.
And that explains your situation as a country.
Sanity.
Because we don't control our resources. And that is the paradigm I'm say shifting.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There is this thing about the transportation and some of the bold water connectivity infrastructure. Lake Volta is the largest man-made lake in the world. Electricity. Mark, say you would want to dredge canals, increase cargo flow with new port. The Suez Canal in Egypt generates 9.4 billion a year. And you want to have a similar thing. Ewo Ghana on the Volta Lake. When your waters are neglected and abandoned, why wouldn't they be polluted? It brings us into the conversation around, illegal mining and what it's doing to our water bodies. Mark, about railway network. Our vision is to develop a comprehensive railway network exceeding 8,000 kilometers, 1.5 million tons of steel needed. This will be produced from Pillar 1. In the Pillar 1, Industrial Revolution. No? Okay. Build railways to the borders and let our neighboring countries continue to connect the West Africa region. And that's a comprehensive policy on transportation. I say the moon needs the sun to shine. So does Pillar 2 needs Pillar 3 to thrive. And Pillar 3, from transportation, mobile energy city and technology hub. The energy city.
Well, Obi said asemna yatrono hono. And Nyoma Yabobosui 16 regional industrial revolution and railway projects are your PSA and I don't know. Say uni energy untimi empower industries.
Okay.
And I say investor beyond so ever ukrumwa.
Or Hesanium.
No. Oh, energy tariffs no any competitive or because of Beyejumanwa or Beboka. And what we are saying is as I said itiminya a consolidated power mix. And I say energy sources. In him said we are already in the hydroelectric. We are already in the thermal. But we have to go big on solar farms. We have to go big wind farms. We have to go big biomass. Afe unya enonu nyina wia unwiye. As I say, making bold steps towards nuclear energy. Because nuclear energy no na unya ema energy no and I say electricity no many idea no bo no form. The initial cost no ewo high, but the benefits no are no. And see in the mind of the Nakwame Bidia, because ordinary nantia, Obeka say it's not about the initial cost. Say idea no the return on investment no eswa go for it. And see this is the consciousness. And na enye no kwa you say 640 million Africans don't have access to energy. And see you say e are hosem but no answer opportunity. Ede magana enti sane o mano na ya sha ase a ye dwene ho ne de to Ghana fo anim se omuma ye kwan a eni o ma sei na ye de begugu akwan mama oman no etumpon.
It's interesting. I mean some of the information I'm put together in this policy document. I mean, for example, share data centers now. Build data centers to support the technology hub. We would position Ghana for crypto farming, which is mining. That's crypto farming or mining. Coin minting, and tokenization of assets. This is the future of finance. Now, when a man for a bit skeptical, this whole blockchain, crypto, it's convenient. People advise and convert Charlie, don't go near side because say ulusu bamut musike da nana echo. Are we ready for BBC?
Well, that's an intelligent question, Obi. Now, let me begin by explaining the underlying technology. Or build it on top. The underlying technology, no, any friend is said distributed ledger technology, and I say infrastructure.
Okay.
Na obia waya accounting da bia no nim say ledger. I had to say wodwo na watro expenditure any income. Into we come na we frame, we come na we frame. That's the ledger. Into the distributed no so say matro ade na gu me notebook e wodwo no. May be making millions of copies of the same information. No, Enti se me copy no eira.
Okay.
We still have other copies we can fall on. Enti sa technology no ni nickname any a friend of blockchain.
Blockchain.
No.
Okay.
Na the advantage in so ewo ho ne se immutable. Echere se utro shem se sika sei e na abefa business ni ma obia sesa no a enye yi. Because sesano at your end because adeni distributed no just call all the other computers are running and there no to change everything, and it's impossible to do that. So that's the underlying technology, and this is going to be the future of finance. So see, I mean, say American government is thinking of building Bitcoin reserves. American government. So, and there are many other governments, Germany, they are all going deeply into it. Na Brunino, obedadao, no, make advances. Bear 30 years ahead of you. Or we are no about the two for say, this is what you have to do. So, it's no, Obana na kwa mbedia kon 18 mwa. Ebi America said you any park, ebi akro 35 umpo. So, this is the new consciousness yadeba. Because no, they don't want to look into other areas. But and also soon a bit to me well leapfrog a because baby I want to see a share from baby America no more share say near ye that. You need and you may be a big region as soon well leapfrog. Now I tell me more catch it up kakra. Oh, and see, and no idea friend is saying nyansa and I say intelligence. Yeah, caso be nyansa and me say the person has an uncommon advantage of multiple perspectives. And I
think one of those perspectives would be something Norway has done and done very well, which is the National Sovereign Wealth Fund.
Absolutely.
And Momo say it's the new IMF. Yes. I remember say yenya oil in commercial quantities. President Kufuor then a seminar, be a big one. I remember Trinidad and Tobago by Norway by to come and show and as a talk to us how we can manage oil resources. I don't know what became of that event, but when you read about Norway, one of the things they've done so well, your more national wealth sovereign fund, it's something you are proposing in this.
Well, like you rightly said, inspiration need be free, Norway.
Okay.
Na osha oyo no nkwa na ometumi edia build it sa sovereign wealth fund and they kase I think sa last year omu generate profit of more than $213 billion. $billion. Sa profit from omu national edo so chen Ghana GDP nyina. And sa omu population about 5-6 million. Let's just say Accra near only Norway population and so sika omunya from just one avenue as to change the entire Ghana GDP. So into the consciousness say you have to build the reserves. Now if you leave it for the National Sovereign Wealth Fund to control. International Sovereign Wealth Fund independent and autonomous. Kasa take your decision.
They can invest in other areas.
The idea is that you want to delocalize the way we do investments in the country. So
yeah.
It will share Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund no. And you Norway Hong Kong or modi sika ne hye. Omo shares wo every major company in the world.
Sure.
They have shares in Alphabet, they have shares in Apple, they have shares in Google. Baby and obia while we there finance we be catch say we asset and asset fund allocation free where the next big thing in investing diversification.
Yeah.
Now diversification no interest say me to mic and my top paper no to no kwani diversification location now we invest no and so your diversification in sisikane kakra o Ghana na o foreign assets or Brazil na o assets ni bo India ni nyina no kekabom eno kwa kabom ma currency no strong because o build the investor confidence nti ya na mo nwa say empanifo no sa enwoma say no emma o madwini mu because obi I will never accept to say me amete he ma bin chen Dr. Bawumia and I say kwesi botwe no mo ma beye bi koyi that be so it really baffles me. It really baffles me.
Is it not the case say maybe when you are out normally looking very easy, but when you step into their shoes, decision making, at that level, maybe easy. The things, the interests you have to consider are varied.
Obi, enti me possible say Singapore there when you step into the shoes and Nyomakoye na Ghana Ngwana will step into the shoes enye. I think say they don't have the political will to develop the country. And no don't care about the country. I think so the political party machinery now baggage Inti urini power na the number of people say obi be say o settle no a dozen year pa and untina ye proposing lean governance efficient governance model ne sa nyoma no
and mo look at ministers be saying
12 ministers
12
yes
12 ministers and the mobenya minister back in charge of every pillar na
Obi you're very smart.
That's the idea.
That's the idea. Enti pillars na yabobo so ni nyina no ministers na ba beda no.
That's interesting.
Ministers na beda pillars na no. Na oma make sure say you to me deliver perfectly.
That's really interesting
for the people of Ghana.
But only what I want to do is say I don't want na kwame the presentation or launch this document me nyamre ntimi entie ni but I think going through it and then it's a very interesting document. I will say maybe you have to come back because your Barbie drew pillar 5. Pillar 6 is interesting, the SNIT revolution. I want to hear more about that. Pillar 7, industrification. Pillar 8, environmental human rights protection. Pillar 9, apostolic governance, the 12 ministries. That's here. Pillar 10, raising Ghana's $50 billion. Wow. And Pillar 11, national security and data protection. Pillar 12, sport and the creative industry. I think I was saying, yes, Emma Obabaki bio. And then we go into the rest of the pillars. Na ye BMA Magana phone unite to me at say. I think we have to feed the Ghanaian people with all the alternatives, the options, so they can make the right decision. This is a really, really interesting document. Who can more try and
more try the young consili kakra. But the main idea no nana kwa nyoma we trimu pa.
Anyways, my final question to you and Sana Yamawako already, I mean Honorable Edward Bauer the message about no kase or the NDC's version of sovereign wealth fund, they created the heritage fund. I don't know if it's the same thing.
The same.
Okay.
And Americans say delocalization of investments.
Okay. We say Obi, what is Hubert talking about? Reserve food for 100 years? Please ask him to give us an example in the world where food has been reserved for 100 years. I don't think say you mean literally say the more bottle
baby for 100
years. I don't think that's the idea. Yeah.
Until we refer to the seedlings bank, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. In the Paul de Suso, thank you for your message. But I think that's the response. My final question to you, near the Nkomana Berry, and then maybe Uba back be and near Twaso. So what share presidents are yenya? A research say almost all of them at one point or the other were career politicians, for the want of a better expression. Rawlings was not a politician, but through coup d'etat, be head of state for 11 years, transitioned into constitutional governance, a president for 8 years. Rebecca was some political experience when we entered 1992 and implemented the constitution. Subsequent to him, Kufuor Bai, for him, you can say he's a career politician. So much experience under his sleeves. Mills Eba, why a vice president that Eba be a president. Mahama Bai, why a vice president be a president. Nanado for the best part of the adult life, was in the trenches, frontline politician, if you want. Baumia, I vice president. Or person be a president, or some level of experience politically. Mahama the same. Nana Kwame Bediako doesn't seem to have that. So political governance in this country without our experience, you think he can be successful? Looking at how a political system,
Well, you need experience in politics to become an excellent politician. But an excellent politician is not an excellent leader. An excellent leader, no experience in life. And he has the ability to put brains and minds together and allow them to function. And no politicians, because so you're a politician, career politician, or consciousness, a job for the boys. So no, ye di power ni wia e kwan a mefa so a me position me nkrofo because politics na about loyalty. But business no entesa. Business na about what works. Into business na more about idea meritocracy. And no ne adwene na no kwame bidi akon edeba. And is the more reason in tia SS Ghana for a try no. Yeah.
Hubert, ma yen sanya arranging embra nebra bio na fe yan twan common so why I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Same here. Pleasure.
Fantastic. Eko see saying na high Sempa FM. Yen tie we embra ye by the next chapter.